Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm actually like,
You're fine. You're fine. You get good audio and everything, and I hope you don't mind this background.
that's fine. That's why I was laughing when I first logged
It's
on.
like, am I in the meeting or is it okay? You walk in and they have. I'm hoping when I'm doing these kind of interviews and chats with people, whatever they're doing will be my background instead of me just promoting myself. And I'll just kind of briefly tell you. I'm gonna put all this together. My goal is to inform people that are here in Tokyo with a different type of platform, and I see in the group you're very active besides telling people you can't say that, no, 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 and those things are quite funny. And you know, there's a
I
big.
mean, there's different things up here, but what comes out, what I type is the right thing.
Oh no, no, I'm not talking about not from you. I'm just what people are posting, like some, you know, some problem happened and they're posting, and there's, you know, for example, during this COVID, a lot of things were posted in units. You wanted everyone to kind of follow, and people are just posting, you know, as if those units do not exist.
Well, most people don't know about it, and now Facebook just changed it to guides, and I haven't had a chance to go back and like adjust all of the verbiage. And I someday I'll get to it, but I just haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, so can you tell me about a little bit about 10 people that might not be familiar with 10 and how it works?
Sure. Tokyo Expat Network is a group intended for mostly foreigners that live in Japan, but we also welcome Japanese expats that have lived elsewhere that are now back in Japan and oftentimes feel like it's just as foreign to them as moving to a new place. So we try to be an open community, for people that are looking to find their niche.
How long ago? When did the 10 groups start? How long ago?
So I created 10, let's see, October of 2013. I had just moved here from Singapore. And in Singapore, there's a group that at the time was called Singapore Expat Wives, and it was run by a dear friend of mine. The group was a little bit different. It was a little bit more exclusive, but it provided an avenue to get answers to questions. And when I moved to Japan, I have a story about that, but I don't need to share that now. When I moved to Japan, I was searching for a community. I was like, it's got to exist. I mean, Japan's a whole lot bigger than Singapore. But it didn't exist that I could find. So I went to an event called Tokyo Here and Now, hosted at the American Club.
Yep.
And I got up, and that event is about sharing information. It's a great orientation, and it's a great way to meet friends. And so I got up at the very end and said, okay, this has been so informative. We have had all of these questions answered. What happens tomorrow when you have a new question? Where do you go? And the organizers were like, well, you can email us, or you can ask the people at your bus stop, or you can. And I was like, okay, but what if you want to cast a wider net? I said, let me explain, what we had in Singapore. And because at the time it was probably, 10,000 people. So you could post a question, where's the best place to find, this specific art supply? And within seconds, you'd have an answer, and you could
Mm.
take your street and go, plug it into Google and find it. And so I wanted the same resource here. And so I said, if I create this, will you guys be the first 60 members and then just add people that you know? And that's how it started.
Wow,
It was
wow.
just the 60 of us that were at that event. And then the long timers like added friends and added other people that they knew. And it just grew and grew.
And I guess from 7 years, I think the last stats I saw were 30,000 people are on this, and that's not counting, one person could represent four or five people at home, so you could easily be over 100K. What do you think about that? The reaches like that, possibly 100,000 people would reach messages on
I
that.
love it. I mean, I feel like it's a very powerful group. I feel like we're just scratching the surface. I mean, I know there's a lot more foreigners in Japan, but I feel like it gives people access to incredible information. And we're probably going to end up talking about Show It Off Weekend. But I mean, that's a free advertising option once
Where
a
can
month.
people
And
visit?
it's pretty incredible. I know people have grown businesses from it. I know people during COVID have found ways to, make ends meet when their job wasn't giving them the right amount of money to pay their bills. So, I'm incredibly proud. I have never actively promoted the group. It has grown 100% organically. We are constantly growing and shrinking. People join the group. People often leave when they leave Japan, and others stay because they miss Japan, and it's
Mm.
like a little taste of home.
Mm.
So there are some people that are like, I hope you don't mind. And I was like, as long as you're going to be nice, I'm really fine with it. So I look forward to watching it grow over the years. And I hope it continues to grow and we can keep that tight knit feeling that I think some people have. I definitely have met friends through the group. I have
Wow.
definitely, you know, made connections through the group when I find out, oh, this person does this and oh, they do this and they need somebody. And I'm like, oh, and I connect people. That's just something I've always done in any community I've lived in. But 10 is such a bigger, it's 30,000 people versus, my neighborhood back home was maybe 500 or 1,000 people. So, it definitely, it's a wider net to cast when you need help.
Give us some samples. Like you were mentioning COVID. So let's just jump right in there. How has COVID changed you're mentioning jobs, you're mentioning people looking for things. So how did the group respond to COVID, or did COVID respond to your group? How was that paired?
Well, that was interesting, and you'll see sometimes our rules are kind of designed to help people stay on topic. The group is really about questions. The group is really about event. It's about sharing information, recommendations, and whatnot. When COVID happened, it got to be one of those things where I was like, this is going to take over. This is going to, I love that we could share information that way, but there are a lot of people, like there's a wide spectrum of opinions in the group. And there are lots of people that say suffer from anxiety, for example. And when they are constantly bombarded with COVID messages and fear, not fear mongering, but like articles that strike fear in you. And, when they're at home, they can turn the TV off or they can decide to not read the Japan Times today. But when they're on 10 and this is their time to relax and be a little bit social and they're still bombarded with those messages, the admins and I felt that we really had to come up with a different solution. And that's why we tried to create targeted posts under guides, which is kind of a subset. I changed our group type long ago. So we're really set up to be like a learning group,
Right.
but we aren't. I just wanted that functionality. So that's kind of how we use it. It's where we put in guides, we have the rules, we have certain other helpful posts that I would love to add to someday if people would learn to use it as a resource. And then we've added, there's a guide for coronavirus posts. And it
Lots
was
of
just a
those.
way
Yeah.
where it gave members a way to share what they wanted to share, but it was tucked away a bit. So members that wanted to avoid it could avoid it as well. It could be a separate group in itself. And groups have been created just for COVID in Japan. There's the Return to Japan Facebook group has become a huge resource for a lot of
Right.
people that are coming and going or just trying to get COVID information about testing.
Oh, they
And
just want
so,
COVID.
yeah, so I felt like COVID is a subset of what I want to serve. And I wanted to make sure that our group remained kind of open to all of the different things that is really more within our mission. We've done the same thing over the years with apartments and roommate searches. That started becoming, there were 5, 10, 20 posts every day where people wanted to post apartment ads and roommate ads. And I said, you know what, this can be its own standalone group. So we moved that to the side to keep the mission of 10, the questions, the events and whatnot, our core mission. So from time to time, either I've created a group like that or I hear of another one and we'll help promote that just to have that topic covered somewhere else.
What are some of the biggest challenges facing? We're talking about, I guess a lot of posts just now. You were saying just a lot of posts were looking for apartments and roommates. What has been a big challenge? Because you wanted the group to go this way, and then certain things like COVID and apartment rentals. And I also see a lot of lawyers who are English friendly. They always mention that I'm English friendly. And how do you discern, this is okay, this isn't okay, this is a good direction? Do you let, I guess I'm asking, do you let certain topics go over what your mandates are for the group? Like you might want to do this, and then
I mean, at its core, the group is about, asking questions, sharing event information, recommendations, and we say Japan expat related news. We do allow job posts, but they've become like a fiery subject. Like if there's a job post on Indeed or LinkedIn, you can't go back to them and say, that's not a good rate. Like there's no commentary on it. And so we try to keep that in mind. Like I remind people all the time that this isn't a negotiation. If you're not interested, scroll, because that job will drop off. Like the post won't gain traction. If you sit there and bicker that, oh, you're not paying enough, well, more and more and more people are going to see it. One, which is against the kind and helpful commentary that we ask for on 10. And it just creates more issues. Then there's also another whole subset of posts that come up from time to time, like visa questions and lawyer questions. We really discourage those because the grand majority of our membership are not law experts. We are not immigration experts. That is not our expertise.
right.
So I always try to, say, go here instead or post here. However, I understand that people find incredible comfort in others identifying with their situation. So they know they're not the only one that's gone through this before. They know that other people have been out there and struggled with the same situation. And so sometimes in the comments, they don't even get true actionable information, but they get they learn that there are other people out there struggling in the same way. And that's quite comforting. And so we do let posts slide through from time to time that are kind of outside the realm of what we really want in the group. But we're trying to serve the community. The moderators and I, when a post is submitted, it goes into a pending status and we're able to go in and read it. Most things are approved. Sometimes there are topics that are a little sensitive when it comes to Japan. There's definitely Japan lovers and Japan haters. We aren't really a discussion group. We're about sharing information, but sometimes discussions can be cathartic and can be really helpful. So we just try to moderate it as best as we can. I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom. The other two moderators, are teachers and have other careers that they're busy with. So we just want things that will grow the community, that have helped people be positive. When I first started the group, I was all about getting outside your comfort zone. Get out and go experience Japan. If you haven't met friends yet, try something new. COVID obviously derailed all those messages. That's not safe right now. So it's, finding other ways to connect, whether it's virtual or something else.
Well, let me ask you a little bit of a tricky question. The order's been lifted. People can go out, and you might have so on Friday you can promote your business, and people start, 20 picnics get promoted. You might have just allowed clusters to organize themselves through your website. How do you figure out this is okay, this isn't? Even though you said, be careful, mask up, everything you said, take the precaution. But if they go through your website and the clusters in Tokyo explode and 20 groups you knew were going to go to picnics, how do you figure out like that to put it on or not let it put it on? Because they're going to do it anyway, but you want the community and people to make choices. So how do you figure out those kind of choices to allow on the site?
To be honest, I don't think we're that popular. A lot of, there are events that are posted all over the city. It would be hard to sit there and track, all the different things and where they are on the map and where people might interact. I mean, to be honest, I would hope people wouldn't find us liable. We are like a conduit for information. People are still making their choices. People still take the train. People still, go to the grocery store. People still go to dinner, and I'm not forcing them to go. It's still their choice. So, and again, I'm a volunteer. So I feel like I'm doing the best I can. I'm not making any money from this. I've invested, hundreds of thousands of hours over the, last 7-8 years to make 10 what it is today. And I'm just doing it in a spirit of community and a spirit of sharing and making the most of our time in Japan.
Okay, I'm going to try to get you down to describe these group topics that appear on 10 and you just tell me, like, for example, if I say picnic, oh, people that like to go out. So I want you to kind of briefly, without a lot of detail, try to describe these topics that are appearing on 10. Are you ready?
Okay.
So, the So group, SIOW, yeah.
Oh,
Yep. So how would you describe that? Or
show it
show it.
off weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, is like it's anybody's opportunity to give their elevator speech to 10. So it can be a business, but it can also just be a student or someone who's here who's looking to find friends.
Oh, okay. That's good.
It's literally open to anything. And we allow that one weekend things that we normally don't allow, like posting a job resume, posting an animal that needs a home, posting a business survey. Things we normally don't allow are allowed on Show It Off weekends. It's our chance to just let our hair down and break all the rules. And, as long as they use that acronym, SIOW,
Yeah.
we're good.
and follow on the weekend only. Okay, so that is good from Friday evening, or does it start Saturday? When does it start?
It used to be 48 hours Saturday, Sunday, one
Okay.
weekend a month. It now is Show It Off weekend extra large. It starts at noon on Friday and it ends at noon on Monday.
Okay.
So it runs for 72 hours, but I don't have to stay up till midnight to approve posts anymore. I can just do it at lunchtime and be done with it.
Okay. We'll get to those in a sec. The next one I see is Tokyo. Anything about that?
Are these like the hashtags?
Yeah, the hashtags. Is that a good one to look at for you guys, or?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think for Tokyo, most people in the group are in Tokyo, but not everyone. We do there's a fair amount of folks from Hokkaido or Kyoto, Osaka, Okinawa, just, that they live in Japan. So a lot of the information applies to them, but not, they're not in Tokyo. So I think the hashtag Tokyo posts are, things that are happening specifically in Tokyo. So it makes it a bit more searchable for people when they come to the group.
Okay. The next one, 10 eats out. Sorry. Okay.
So there's quite a few Facebook groups in Tokyo that are foodie related.
Yeah.
And so I think they use that. And back in 2019, we did a series, and I think it's filed under Guide 6 now. That was like 10 eats out or 10's best. Yeah. So we went by cuisine and, said, okay, pizza. What's your favorite pizza restaurant? And let people list all of their recommendations.
Okay.
We did that for different types of cuisine. And we also, I think, did it by area. So like best restaurants in Roppongi, best restaurants in Shibuya, best restaurants in Daikanyama, like all around Tokyo. So that became it was supposed to become a resource. And it was something I wanted to do on an annual basis, and then coronavirus kind of screwed that up.
How impacted was coronavirus for the group? Because you had a lot of events that were going to go out and do things, and then coronavirus took over. And how has the adjustment been? Has it affected, like, how much % of the things that you're trying to promote for questions?
No, I think the questions have always remained. People always have questions, and so those have always remained. I feel like for a while events went away, and then events came back, but they were all virtual. And then at different points, some things started being in person. We've always had the fights between people who are like, you should stay home, but you know what, I'm going to go and sit in a park, and there's going to be 10 people, and we're going to socially distance. And everybody has a different comfort level when it comes to coronavirus. But I feel like online, the groups continue to grow. The questions still come. Sometimes they're a little bit different. But I hear a little pet in there. I have cats that haven't come and attacked my COVID cats. I was always a dog person, but our dog died anyway, so we have cats now.
You got them during COVID?
During COVID from Kawakuji, which is a rescue group owned by a 10 member.
Wow. So it really, this becomes your personal great, hey, how can I get a cat? And are people, I guess we'll change the topic a little bit. You said people are making friends. You started with a group of moms, ideally, and then the Tokyo American Club. How friendly are people? I know people, I've seen myself where people recommend things and, hey, thanks a lot. But How friendly are people? Like, hey, let's go have a coffee and stuff. And do you see that happening quite a lot?
It does happen. It's kind of tricky because I see on other expat groups, for example, there are just random posts, kind of like a personal ad where
Right.
someone's like, I love music, like whatever. And it's kind of vague, like who wants to get together? And for me, I know there's a lot of groups that do that already. So if on 10, if somebody said, I love music, I'm going here on Friday night to listen to XYZ, to me, that's an event.
Yeah.
And if someone wants, like, that would be a decent post. Like, this is my interest. This is what I'm doing on this date and time, kind of like an open invitation, who wants to
Right,
come.
right, right. And music
That's
as well.
fine. We probably do it 4 or 5 times a year. We've created a hashtag, make a friend on 10.
Oh, make a
And,
friend. Okay.
those posts, I'll usually start a post and explain kind of how it works. And basically what we ask people to do is post in the comments, give
Right.
information that they are willing to share about themselves, whether it's about hobbies or interests, or they're part of town, or what they do for work. And then obviously they can read other comments and then comment on those comments. We have had an issue in the past where people join 10 and kind of use it as a dating site.
Yeah, I was going to say
And
hooking up with somebody.
they contact people privately through Messenger. And, there's several attractive women in 10, and they feel quite uncomfortable when this happens.
Okay.
And so there is a rule that you aren't supposed to contact members privately.
Oh, I
But
see it. Yeah.
in the make a friend on 10 posts, it's like, if you have a conversation and then you both agree to take it offline, like, go for it. I do know that there are friendships that have been made through those posts. I'm sure there are plenty of friendship failures as well. But I have a dear friend who runs a restaurant, and he posted on one of those. He had lived in Japan. He's half American, half Japanese.
Right.
He'd grown up here and in the States. He came back, posted on there. He's like, I met my, two of my best friends I met through that post. And, he's like, it's amazing. Like, you would never think that a random post could do that, but it does. And it can. It doesn't always. I don't have a guarantee. I don't have a percent of success versus failure, but it takes work. And that's what I said in the last one. I said, if no one comments on your comment, go comment on other people. Like, start the conversation. It may be a match, and it might not. I don't know if there's yet been a 10 wedding, but that'll probably happen someday.
Okay.
I do know people who've come here as English teachers, who have found dream jobs here in Japan and been able to stay much
from
longer.
the group.
From posts within the group, from job posts. A lot of times I don't hear about it, but then every once in a while I get these, private message from somebody I've never talked to before. And they're like, I just have to tell you my story. Like, it makes it all worth it. All the headaches, and, keeping people being kind to one another. And
okay. What's a nice message, without exactly saying what they said, or just if you paraphrase, what's a nice message you've gotten that someone experienced from the group and they sent a private message? Was it more for jobs, or I met somebody special? What's some that you can remember?
It's, Mark has shared his best friend's story. I've had a woman contact me about her job, and others.
Oh, they contact you for jobs?
Well, they just said, by the way, I wanted to let you know, there was a job post 6 months ago, and I went after it, and this woman got the job, and she's like, this is a job that is my dream job. And she's like, you never think you're gonna, like, when you come here to teach English, you don't know if there's a road beyond that. And she had this opportunity, she went after it, and just is thrilled and happy. And it was from a free ad on my Facebook group.
Wow.
One of the most touching messages, and he shared it actually this past Show It Off weekend, is Josh Nichols is a restaurant owner up in Niigata, and he he started a website a year ago when COVID hit. I think he had a small delivery service before that. But when COVID hit, he knew he would have to close his restaurant, or, just have much less, people aren't visiting, people aren't coming. He's in a small town. He had to find another way to make money. And so he created The Alchemist at Home and created this food delivery service. Originally, it was kind of restaurant favorites from his restaurant that would, they arrive in a refrigerated box from Takubin or whatever the service is. And in the past year, it's grown. He's added wine, he's added baked goods, there's vegetable boxes. He's worked with some nutritionists and created like a healthy meal program that you can buy weekly depending on the size of your family. He's just really learned how to adjust to the market, and it's become a complete separate standalone business for him. And he says he's never advertised outside of Tokyo Expat Network, and it's helped his family, remain stable and if I have an income during COVID. And it was all because he pivoted his business and he utilized Show It Off Weekend as the tool that it was really designed to be. It's a tool for businesses to, reach this demographic for free. It's also a way to connect people and individuals. If you have a passion and you're like, you know what, I love doing this, but I don't know anyone else in Tokyo that loves to do it, post and see what happens. I do wish sometimes that I could, I don't want to be overbearing, but I would love to like coach people on how to properly post on Show It Off Weekend, use a photo. Some people don't even list their website. I'm like, come on, this is the one time you can do it. List your website so there's a preview, or make sure you include enough information and keywords. Use a header. I don't love a lot of emojis, but use an emoji here or there if it's effective, if it helps draw someone's attention to your ad. Sometimes when it's just words, it just gets lost. And I'm like, oh, but this is such a cool thing or an important thing, but I'm afraid no one's going to see it. It's not going to catch someone's eye. So I kind of at some point would love to have like a Show It Off Weekend course on how to effectively post on Show It Off Weekend.
So give me let's say it again. So you're saying let's get just give me run through it again. Photo, title. Give me those again. What you think would be a perfect. So
yeah, I mean it kind of depends on what it is, but include some photos for sure, or at least one photo to get attention. Have a header because the headers scream out to the algorithm to show this should, like if it says photography and someone's been searching photography, it's going to come up in their newsfeed. I spend a lot of time in the group, but most people only see Tokyo Expat Network when it pops up in their newsfeed. So, if they aren't going to 10 and just scrolling, if they want to, you want to be able to make sure your message hits people's news feeds it's all based on the words you use. So, and sometimes, like I saw some people, again, I'm not an expert, but I saw some people this time around not use the word clubhouse, like they abbreviated it or did something else to fool the algorithm because they're afraid that Clubhouse posts are getting pushed aside right now on Facebook.
Really? Okay.
I think it's probably great to use your Instagram, handle, your Facebook, if you have a page, or a website is fine. But I guess if it's, we have to talk to Mark Zuckerberg. Like, I don't know how they're burying other competing platforms. But like, that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Don't put a competitor on. Don't say your big Google site or something related to YouTube, because that'll definitely have some slow traction. What's some of the shortcomings of 10 wish, but you don't, you said you want to reach a bigger community. Do you think possibly 100,000 people could be impacted by your post? But how big do you want to get? Do you want 1 million people?
I don't really look at the numbers as far as the total number of members. I pay more attention to Facebook gives me data about the makeup of the group and how active the group is. And so I could care less if we have, if I had 100,000 members, great. I want the majority of those people to be active. So what I've looked at since they started giving groups data in the last couple of years, in any given month, I am between 2/3 and 3/4 of my group are active members.
That's pretty good. That's good.
And even more than that, like when it was 25,000, my active members would be like 22,000 per month. So that's telling me that, I don't have a lot of dead weight. Most of the people in the group are active. Now that we're up towards 30, like I need to see the numbers shift up in that same proportion. Like I haven't used my brain in a while. So that's more what's important to me is how active members are. I don't, if someone just joins to find the information and they understand the search function and that's still showing up in that data. They're still active. They're still using the group. That's fine. Not everybody has to post or comment. But I want people that are using the group. If they are in the group and then they hide the group because it annoys them, I'm like, I'd rather just have them leave because it's not helping my data. I want active people that are in a community. In my dream before COVID was that I wanted to kind of get into the event business. I wanted to start having parties and having 10 like members meeting, whether it's a coffee or a picnic, a music event, I wanted to put together events that would bring people together through their hobbies and their interests. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff out there anyway. I know there's meetup.com and there's, a lot of ways where people can do that. But I feel on 10, like when people meet me, it's always kind of sometimes I recognize them first, or sometimes they recognize me, or we start talking because for example, I was at Best Living Japan hosted like an artisan fair over the weekend. And I went and most of the people there exhibiting are 10 members. And I know that because they advertise on Show It Off Weekend. So when I walked into this one room, there's a woman, Juliette, who is from France, and she makes these really beautiful daruma, and she does these little shadow boxes full of like Tokyo things.
Right.
And I walked in and I was like, I've never met her, but I know her. And so, I love starting those conversations, but I feel like it's really fun to actually meet people and put faces with names. And I want to be able to do that for the rest of the community. People will come to me like, what about the guy that always posts about this? Or like, I think David Green, who is like one of our resident movers.
Yeah.
Like he probably has similar conversations because a lot of his business comes from 10. Yeah. And so he has this probably little 10 community that he feels a strong connection to. And I feel the same way when I meet members. And so I really wanted to create events so that I could share that love and share that feeling of connection with people, all over the city, all over Japan. I don't know if that's going to happen.
It might pick up again because now that everything, from last weekend when I saw it at Yogi Park, and then yesterday I was at another park, and people are out and about. And I think the strangest thing wasn't going out, it's just sitting and talking with people rather than just Zoom and face is because you can put down the Zoomer and go do something. But face to face, sitting on a picnic blanket, and I still wore my mask. Everyone started taking it off, but I just wore it, and it didn't matter to me. For photos, I took it down, but I think the social part is really good. Just getting out and meeting people. So if 10 does that in the future, it'll be nice. You can just start with a coffee. Who's available Thursdays? Let's get people together, and it could be a fee. There was one place that had a fee. If you didn't bring anything, they had for 1,000 yen, you can get a bento or a drink, and that could be up to people. Or, eventually going on that same thinking, a nutritionist could bring something to share. Like 10 nutritionists could be invited there, and then people that like that sort of thing are already told, these acupuncturists, I don't know what they're going to be doing in the park, but they could be doing a demonstration. And somebody's got needles, look at me, and then they're eating something, and it could be the best day of their life. But I did notice, just for me, a person came to me and said, I haven't been out since March last year. And they thanked me for inviting them. But I just checked something quick. But do you think that will happen in the future, where just picnics around, coming up, and it doesn't have to be official, just like you were saying? But what do you see for that?
I hope so. I think I would probably start in an unofficial way. I've had one actual official event. I teamed with a crew. This was 2018. We did an Oscar party morning. We met at a bar and just had a little event teamed up with Tokyo Weekender. Yeah. And so that was quite fun. And we, I looked into partnering with them and just doing more things because they have a staff, which is a lot more than just me. And but things just never really came together. And then when COVID hit, I was like, oh, geez.
This is gonna be
So
fun.
I think now, I mean, starting unofficial with some really casual events, but then someday, I mean, it would be great to have, 10 night at whatever at a
Yeah, or 10
nightclub
picnic
or
if people want to be
a
safe.
10 picnic or, yeah,
10
stuff
coffee
like that.
for for example, they're going on that idea the daytime, like Thursdays, the any mothers that are in town, let's meet at this coffee shop and bring your kids and we'll try to find a cafe that's friendly towards mothers with enough space to wiggle caregivers. And it's just nice to meet people, I guess, for mothers if they all meet together. And and there could be, I've seen a few on Facebook too, stay-at-home dads. I mean, the information they can get, besides looking, they can just talk into a person. And yeah, that could be a nice thing. One thing I wanted to ask you, I mean, we've been talking about things on here. One of my ideas is possibly, run it by the radio station, is to kind of review everything that would happen in a week. So this week on 10, this is the top 10 things people are talking about. And just kind of summarize and just kind of try to see if, almost the way you're talking about the community building, these are 10 issues that came up in the discussion. What do you think is important, the discussions or the announcements or their combination?
Probably a combination. I actually, through the back end of Facebook, I can look at, I can do different data ranges like the last week, the last 28 days, and the last 60 days. And I can pull up the most popular posts.
Oh,
I can
nice.
pull up, yeah, and it used to be just like the top 5. And
Okay.
when I looked recently, like there was a lot more data that was there, and it actually tells me the number of comments, the number of views. Like it gives me a lot more information,
Right.
and so. Yeah, I mean, for the radio station, I can't share that information with you, but I could read it, screenshot or like read it, and
Yeah, yeah.
you could pick out certain topics that are definitely being talked about more that week. That
Or
would be
guide
easy
me.
to,
Yeah,
yeah.
or guide me towards something. And oh, I want to talk about going out. And oh, there's 3 topics that looked like in our top 10. Um, Looking at men and women, are men getting in? I know women are involved in everything, but are men getting involved from your data? Are they participate? Like, are they posters? Or are they commenters? What do you
I
feel?
don't have it broken down that far, but I
Oh,
do know that men are 51% of the user of the members on 10, and women are like 48 point something, and then there's a subset of like other or
yeah.
unspecified.
Wow. Is that how does that is that reflective of the posts? Are there like men friendly posts? Because it sounds 50-50 on that.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely men ask questions, women ask questions, like it's really all over the board.
Wow.
I know that, there's stuff like, and students ask questions, and, like what I love about the community the most is how diverse it is. We have, students, we have people who are coming to Japan seeking a better life. They come here and they learn the language, and I mean, like when I was a kid, I grew up in America, and I never thought I'd leave the US. And the only reason I'm here is, my husband worked for a company that saw the value in bringing him here. Like we've lived in Singapore and Japan, but everything was done for me. I'm extremely blessed and lucky that, packing my stuff to paying for the move to helping me find an apartment, I had help all along the way.
Wow.
And I would say the majority of the group doesn't have that. Like nothing even close.
Who packed for
They
you?
get off that airplane with their one suitcase and they're figuring shit out all by themselves. And that is like, there's so much value that 10 can provide because these people have been through everything. And that's like the joy that I'm like, I can't help everybody. I don't know the answer to every question. I'm not an expert in anything, but I can provide this way to collaborate through Facebook. And my request is that people are kind to one another. And I mean, if people are resorting to posting a question on 10, it's because they're frustrated. They've already looked and searched and they don't know what to do next. And sometimes they're very desperate. And so if someone comes to you and they're like, "You're stupid. Like, why would you ask this?" Or like, that's not helpful. That is not what that person needs in that moment.
Yeah.
They need someone who's like, "I've been there before. This sucks. This is what I did. Try this."
Yeah, a better
That's helpful.
response. Yeah.
Like, and so that's like, I don't know if the average member sees that or understands that. Like, we have, students and foreign domestic workers and English teachers and IT workers and people that are coming here as artisans to learn a craft. Lots of stay-at-home moms. We have stay-at-home dads and trailing spouses. We have CEOs and, everybody in between is a member of this group. And so everyone's coming at this with such a different perspective and a different lens because their journey might be completely different. But we've all had the struggles with the Japanese bank. We all had the struggles with immigration. We've all had the struggles with just figuring out how to do this thing. And so I want people just to recognize that every day is not easy. And be nice about it. Like, there's a way to deliver the message, even if you think this person is stupid. There's a way to deliver the message with kindness.
Jen, there you go. Maybe we should reverse, and you could be the host of the show. And no, I mean, maybe even a title for Fridays if it's Friday. Now, in your opinion, do you think getting the information for a quick radio show would be good on a Friday or towards the end of the weekend? Going into the weekend or at the end of the week?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think the data changes every day. So it doesn't, as long as it's on a regular cadence, I can try to pull the stuff that is the most relevant.
Or even last week's, because I think a week later, of course, there's new players, but definitely, some of the topics will be about the same. And I want to ask you a different type of question. What's maybe the funniest post you saw? Oh, there you go. Like just something that you didn't expect to be posted. I'll tell you one. There's a guy who has a rose. He goes around Tokyo. He has this preamble paper on like on a shirt or something saying, "I'm looking for love." And he has the rose, and I've seen him appear at Mondesano. He's just looking for someone to love. And he said, "I can do this, I can do that." And he has it on a kind of like, it's not a placard, but something where people can read. And I just couldn't believe it. He was a Japanese guy, and it's all in English. So for me, that would be really unusual. And he stopped going around, so he might have found somebody, or he's in the lockdown. But what's something that made you laugh that you can? And you didn't have to stop it, but just like, oh my gosh, that's funny.
Well, I have a friend who has a very dry sense of humor. And I mean, I don't approve every single post, but I approve probably 80-85% of them. And she'll screenshot things and send them to me like, "Did you see this?" I'm like, "I already had my laugh about that." I don't know. It's hard. Like I've been doing this for almost 8 years, so it's really hard to pull out like one specific post. I think I'm more touched by the ones that talk about connection or whatever. I mean, the reason why I believe so much in this, like in Facebook, and I mean, Facebook is good and it's bad, but I believe in the power of groups, is that when I was living in Singapore, my husband decided to buy a house, but in the States.
Right.
And he was living in Japan and I was living in Singapore.
Wow.
And because his job had him here, he'd come see us like every other weekend, but we started living as expats right after 3/11. So things were weird and the company didn't know what to do. So we kind of ended up split. And he wanted to buy this house and we all needed to sign the paperwork, but he only came to Singapore on weekends and the embassy wasn't open on weekends to sign because you need a notary. And he didn't think he could figure out how to do it in Japan. And then we had to sign twice and we didn't there was, for timing and getting the paperwork back in time, it just wasn't going to happen. So I reached out and I found a person who was just a notary out of the state of New York, that he's like, "Oh, I'll just meet you guys for coffee. I can meet you on a public holiday. It doesn't matter. We'll sign the paperwork and be done with it." Well, then something changed, dates changed. Jim wasn't going to be there that weekend. And I ended up booking an appointment at the embassy and I signed. And then I sent the paperwork to Japan. I was like, you have to figure out how to do this. Like, I can't help you. I've never lived in Japan. I don't know what to do. And I happened to reach out to the gentleman who had offered to help us, and actually his wife. And she said, you know what? That's really funny. She said, my husband actually happens to be in Tokyo this weekend.
Oh.
Or today or whatever. And I think he has his stamp because we put it in his briefcase. It's in preparation for your meeting.
That's a good wife. Yeah.
So my husband was like working in Shinjuku, but was living near Midtown. And this guy was staying at the Grand Hyatt in Roppongi. And they met in the lobby, like stamped the paperwork, and off the paperwork went. So the only reason we were able to buy this house was just a random connection through social media. I never even met the wife or the husband or anything. And, but we would have lost out on the opportunity to buy this house. And so I'm like, there's magic out there. You just have to figure out the right combination of this and that to make it happen. Like, we see it on Show It Off Weekend with businesses. I see it from time to time with people with job posts.
Right.
I've had employers contact me and say, thank you. I had been posting here, here, and here, and I got very few responses, and I posted on 10 and I got 15 applications that day. Well, I don't know if one of those was the right people, right person for the job, but to get that kind of a response, I think, and that it's free, I think is, something's going right.
Okay. I think we got a lot of great information from you about 10. And is there anything that you would, just in a kind of close, and what would you say about 10? I'm new, I'm coming to Japan. What can 10 do for me that my company's going to show me some apartments, or they've offered a job? So let's just say that part. They've offered me a job in Japan, so someone said, hey, you should check out this 10 group. And what can 10 offer me? So I'm a graduate student. I'm coming from, we'll say, Washington State. What can 10 offer me? What kind of community you say?
I would say, because this comes up from time to time, we can't help you decide whether or not to take that job. But once you've decided to make the leap, join the group, learn how to use the search function, because you can find a ton of information about what to pack, what not to pack.
Yeah. Don't bring your bong.
What to bring over. Maybe neighborhoods to live in. We have the linked group that's all about accommodations, which could be helpful depending on how much help people are getting. And really just, search what you're interested in. And when you have a subject that doesn't have the right answers, ask a question. I know, like, banking always comes up. There've been a ton of banking posts recently,
Yeah.
And just, again, there's been less event posts, but try to figure out where you're going to fit in, what kind of neighborhood you want, where the cafes are, or like whatever someone's interested in. If they're into working out, like what kind of gym, should I look at joining?
Or exercise buddies. Get an exercise buddy who
Yeah.
has cats. Can I bring my cat from the States and stuff? And but it's really good to know about this rescue cat stuff. Is it become an important function of the group to, like, has this been increased during COVID with rescue cats and dogs?
No, I mean, we do have a strict rule that we don't allow people to post, like, when they're trying to rehome a pet. They could do it on Show It Off Weekend, but we don't. I know about, Japan Cat Network or Kawakuji Animal Rescue, and there's a few others. Like there's ARC, which is Animal Rescue Kansai. There's several groups, and I know about them because of questions on 10. And then also some of their members have now joined the group, so then they'll advertise on Show It Off Weekend.
Oh, so you don't have stuff.
Yeah. So there's like, if you search, cat rescue or adopt a cat or something, you can find different posts based on, keywords. So that's kind of how I found it. I have a friend, my kids were bothering my husband because our dog died like 18 months ago. And living in a high rise, I was like, I don't know if I can do that again with walking when it's, freezing cold and windy and rainy and scorching hot. And
Yeah.
I said, maybe we do cats this time. My kids have never had cats.
Oh, okay. That's
And
good.
we were going to get one. And then Jay with Kawakuji was like, listen, we only do pairs. And I was like, well, okay. So we have
What
a
was the
brother and a
reason
sister.
for that? Sorry, what was the reason for that? I mean, practically, it makes like so they're not lonely, or
There's a couple of reasons. I think it is just they adjust better and they have a buddy. I mean, they sleep like intertwined. They
wow.
chase each other. They fight. They are the best of friends. And so I can't imagine just having one cat. I think that has to do with it. And then also it lessens the amount of adoptees that they or adopters, whatever, that they have to find if they can do two at a time.
Okay.
So I think sometimes they do singles, but they do singles to homes that already have animals or they have other cats.
Let me ask you almost a final question. In your opinion, do you feel that Japan's a hard country to live in?
No,
What's
it is.
what's what's some things that stand out for someone coming from overseas? Maybe their first time living overseas. Maybe they visited Asia, but to visit here and to live here are completely different animals. So, what are some things that stand out for you living in Japan that are a kind of
And
good bonus?
I do know people would absolutely positively disagree and say living in Japan is hard. I can see that too. I mean, I live in a place where I live in Roppongi, where I have a little bit of Japanese, but I can get by with English. There are so many other people who move to parts of Japan where that is just not the case. They have to figure it out. They have to be able to communicate in Japanese.
Ah, okay.
So I know, racism, discrimination. I know that they exist here. I know that, life can be very hard here. I choose to see the positive. I have had negative things happen, and not that I excuse them, but I learn from them, knowing that I am quite privileged. And even when we lived in Singapore, like there were certain situations where you're like, you know what, that shouldn't happen. This isn't right. But I'm a foreigner, and while I will do everything I can to change the world, I know I can't, like, I'm limited and within this situation. And so I choose to act in different ways. I think living here is wonderful. A few years ago, we actually left for a year and went back to Singapore.
Oh, okay.
And I was devastated.
Like
I
good devastated or not good devastated, I
I
guess.
didn't. I left kicking and screaming. I was very comfortable in Singapore. My kids went right back to the school they were in. I still had friends there. That wasn't the big deal. It was that I love Japan and their civic mindedness. I love the seasons. I love how they celebrate every single flower that grows here. I love that they just see the special moments in life, and they're always taking photos of their food, of the flowers, of themselves. Like they are celebrating life in a way that doesn't happen in some countries, and I just think it's so special. I love living here. I never want to leave. I know I will someday,
Yeah.
but I really appreciate life here. Again, is every day like unicorns and rainbows? No, I have bad days, but the same any country I live in. So it's all about, keeping yourself in the right mind frame and understanding when you do have days that are down that you're on a journey and you're going here. And you might be at the bottom of a valley at the moment, but there's only one way out is up. So, whether it's fixing your mindset or changing something that you're doing, like putting yourself out there, like I just feel like we control a lot of our emotions, and we can only really control our reactions to things. So, and how we respond. So that, like, I hold that core, and it's so important to things that happen on 10. And it's just important with things that happen in life. And I feel like the Japanese, many that I've met have that same philosophy. They know it takes hard work, and they're just, most of the people I have met have been pretty positive, wonderful people.
So if you bring the right attitude here, I've actually had to tell this to people and got disciplined myself about it. But come in here with foreign eyes. I'm from Canada, so if I come here with Canadian thinking, it's going to be difficult here. And once I took off my Canadian eyes and tried to look from the Japanese point of view, things do go a little bit slower in the bureaucracy, hence I guess the permanent residency applications, basic things that would take a few moments to clear up on a phone or to visit in person seem to have different procedures here. And this is what I explain to people. If you come here with that attitude from your country, how things are done, the really scariest comment I heard was, how come they can't give me, do it the American way? And I could tell you a number of reasons. One of them, they should have caught you at the airport and not let you in here. But you have to have the openness when you come here, because there's some wonderful things here. And I had, just an instance where I was going to the Mariners Stadium. I had a shoot there, and I forgot kind of how to go there. It's pretty easy in Chiba, I guess, for everyone, in that area. But this guy said, "I'll take you there," and I thought it was around the corner. He walked with me 20 minutes, but this
happens.
is not, this is, you ask where to go. This is, if you want to make friends, you don't have time to get on 10, just go with a map and try to look lost somewhere. And somebody will, you want to make a friend, bring a map and bring it, really hold it up. Excuse me. And people will run away if they don't feel confident in English. And there's so many funny nuances here that, people, if they're not confident in English and they don't have that confidence day, they're going to go away from you and say, no English, no English. Sometimes when they say they can't speak English, the level of English is pretty good. But I just noticed, these kind of examples, people there. I ended up also taking pictures of everything as well. But I think Japan starts to rub off on. So hopefully, if something can be done with a nice radio commentary going into the weekend or on the weekend, that would be great. I just envisioned 10 being a part of this. That, of course, there's other groups, but it'd be just great to have something that members can kind of tune in. Hey, there's 10 restaurants recommended, or this is our pick this week. And you go into a hat, and if people get their in early, they could be in that random restaurant that's mentioned. Hey, why don't you check this out? Or there's an event of acupuncturists, and there's a new event happening in this area. If anyone lives in this area, we're going to mention these 4 events in 4 different areas of Tokyo. Why don't you go and make a friend? And if you want to download the 10 sticker, we're going to have those available too. And sorry, I'm future.
No. I mean, I love this. I'm happy to collaborate. I actually like the accommodations group. Because I was like, oh, now I'm doing 2 groups. And there's a lot of posts that come on that group, and I can pre-approve people, but some people just always don't post enough information and whatever. So there's the group from Jumpstart Tokyo. It's Corey, Ned's, and I don't remember the other guy's name. Starts with an L. Lance.
What is Jumpstart Tokyo? What do they do?
They're a real estate business, but they're kind of getting into the orientation business. And so they are like moderators now on the accommodations group, just to help me because Lance is like, I'll just do it every day. I'll just check in and do what he has to do.
Right.
Hi, honey. But so I mean, it's easy to collaborate. And if you're like, hey, we're thinking about this, can you pull some posts from that? That's really simple for me to do, and it's fun.
And I think it would be good, and it could be just random things. And pick a day, and if people have stuff, or this was popular last week and it got a lot of response, so we thought we'd mention this for the weekend. And what do you think of this new discussion? We saw it in the news, and it could be a combination of things. And I think I can probably steal, because all the topics are on the 10 group, and that would be good to kind of direct the traffic. And of course, some discussion. We can't, Joe Biden's doing something this weekend, but it might not affect people living here. It's on their mind, but maybe more about like how you live here. And then if people meet, they can kind of talk about those topics. But kind of, if you need this, if you need that, these are things we've seen in the post. Then do you know again about the units? Are you going to post? These are the top 3 things you should kind of look at, and kind of preamble about that kind of thing. So if you're interested, maybe we can connect back. I'll talk to the radio people, but I think a half an hour here and there, and just to see what the response is. And also if people can call in put voices and put photos. And it's a different kind of thing where people can hear a discussion about, hey, this from 10 in the Facebook group. And
So is this on the radio or is it like a podcast?
yeah, it's going to be a podcast on the radio. So the radio could be live. I can orient it either way I want. So for example, if it was live like this, and then people can come in the chat and say, hey, I have a question. I don't know if it'll be where they can call in. This is like I'm just doing this from home, but I could definitely take questions if it came to that, or just take questions I've seen on 10 and say, hey, these are questions we're going to talk about. If you want to see more, we're just giving you a sample. Go on 10 and see all the things we were talking about. And joining me today is Amanda, and she's going to run you through this week, what she's seen this week. And by then it would be, could get a better momentum where you could say, hey, this week I wanted to talk about restaurants in Azerbaijan because they don't get a lot of play. Or, we're hearing people out in Yokohama want something to do, and hey, why don't we talk about this? And then if you come to this station, it's fine. But if you go to 10, there's more links there and more opportunity, and just to see what that interaction could be good. And also, whether they see your video or just hear your voice, it could be nice. They got a face with the site, and then we're just I'm just throwing it out there to see, would it be nice. I just thought, ideally, instead of me jumping around topics all the time, one segment could be just kind of focused on the Tokyo expatriate community. And of course, real estate and lawyers will get involved, but we won't get into heavy topics. Again, go and contact them or come to the 10 website, and you can see on there's a listing of all the lawyers. We've only talked to one today, but you can kind of do that. So it's kind of my thinking. I was
gonna say, maybe we do like a messenger chat or something, and you can add other people. But when you're doing your show planning, send me a note and I can go, okay, well, these are the topics that are there right now. And I can send you links to those posts so you don't have to search for them.
That'd be good.
And then kind of go from there.
Yeah,
and if I can join, I will. And if you don't want me, then that's fine too.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I do hope someday, like we've toyed with the idea of like making t-shirts or making like a luggage tag so that like when you're out and about, you could spot people that are also 10 members and strike up conversation.
Well, if I mean it's as simple as going to was it that print place, Kinko's. You can get the 10 logo, just put it on a sticker, and the first 10 people that send me a question, we're going to send you in the mail a sticker from 10. And if anyone's going out this weekend, they can wear it. And buttons are really easy. You can go to Hakonyen shop, get 10 buttons, the sticker, get it at Kinko's. And it's kind of just put together, and then they'll send me the address and I'll send it to you, and then you can just send out, it could be, something simple that they like, oh, I want to get that 10, button and bumper sticker. And I think a sticker could be nice too. And, whatever you want to come up with, but something easy that every week there's 10 being given away, first 10 questions that come in, and, see if there's a response. And, or if you have, if it starts stockpiling, you can just start giving them away. But it could be good. And for me, I'm always in Yogi Park with volunteer work. So if I see a large group, hey, do you know about 10? And we can always give them away. Who knows? I'll just propose it out there, and again, putting everything together. I just think just keeping it simple. Even if it was a one topic discussion like real estate this week, and these are the 5 things you need to know. And we're not going to tell you here, but if you go to 10, you can see this week's listing. We put it in the link here. You can go to 10 and see this week's real estate listing. So you can follow up through the group, meet other people, hear the questions. But these are 5 questions that come up in real estate. And then I ask you and you ask me, or we have a guest or something. And then, just go from there, and then do the same with food. We have Thai cuisine this week, and we've talked to so-and-so. For example, and we're both eating. Yeah.
I was gonna say, we could even there are several topics that we tend to deal with kind of behind the scenes, like domestic violence. Sometimes those posts are very upsetting, And so there are like some secret groups that I'm not involved in, but I help connect women or whoever to get the information that they need. We have, started a subgroup, like a support group, to help people that are dealing with depression or anxiety or whatever. And it hasn't flourished yet, but
that would be a great first topic. I mean, it's I know, it's good to talk to foodies, but I don't mind starting with a bang. Like, let's talk about domestic violence. If I'm a Canadian woman and I have a Japanese partner and he smacked me, what should I do? And let's talk about that. And what are your rights here? And yeah, that would be like a great first topic. I know it's out of the gate, but I think, people like, oh, whoa, I thought they were going to talk about food. And, but yeah,
and then and
yeah.
then I just had someone just sent me a note on Messenger saying, "Hey," and it's a guy that I could tell the way he was commenting that he was not in a good place. He talked
Mm,
about stepping in front of a train. I'll just put it at
okay.
that.
Okay.
And
That's not good.
so
Yeah.
I reached out to him privately, and we've kind of like kicked off this friendship. And he checks in with me every day, and I check in with him.
Oh, that's
And
great.
so there's like I've still never met him. I've never met him in person, but
Gave him some support though, that he can,
yeah, I'm like, dude, life sucks. Like I listened to him. I made some phone calls on his behalf.
oh, that's
He
great.
just with his listening ear. And anyway, it just reminded me. I'm like, there's literally 1,000 different ways we could approach this. So
Okay.
there's a lot out there.
Okay.
And if before like sharing specifics, I would have to clear certain topics, but
Yeah.
I think that plenty of public information out there.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, for example, if we did domestic violence, for me, maybe possibly, I would probably try to read things that I've seen on 10. And you don't have to say, the privacy of what you're reached out to is different, but that does show that there is a need, and that's what you want to address. And then if I came here, it's my dream job, I got it, and then I got a partner, or I'm married to someone, and it's always in and around marriages and kind of navigating that, because I'm living with somebody, but he talks strongly to me, and how does the law recognize talking strongly? And then what other what are some emergency places? Because I do know, I think I did speak to a girl, and she was staying in one from her partner. She had to stay there, and of course, like back home too, they're not labeled. How many are there in Tokyo? Is there one in Kansai? And these are kind of good things for people to kind of find resources to, and especially if they're a foreigner, who can you contact? If you do have someone that speaks Japanese, you can maybe get easier access. But how many shelters will take a woman, and will they take them with kids? And what if you got a dog, or and these things are kind of important for people. And yeah, I think it would be a good topic to jump off. Could be a mixture. Better to start with food first, and then
I
get
think
into that.
because a lot of I honestly, because I just don't know, I pass the buck to people who do know. But I
Yeah,
make sure that the women get added to this special secret group.
yeah.
It's hidden from Facebook searching, and
Oh, that's
and then I'm in contact with the admin of that group just so that I know that they're getting the help that they need. And I don't have time, to worry more about them, but I just want to know that they are given tools to get in a better place.
oh, that's
So I
great.
feel that like once I found that connection through the secret group, I felt like that's a better way to handle it than me trying to figure something out. So that's the good thing through the 10 network is just I might not be an expert, but I'm like, I know this person is, I know this person is. And sometimes I don't even know them. I search through old Showed Off Weekend ads and I'm
Yeah,
like, oh, this person does that. Like, let me try. And if they don't, this person does. And if they don't, this person does.
someone will. Yeah, and I definitely know for myself. Yeah, I've been helped when I had a PR question or a housing question. And one time I posted a housing question. I had 10, 15 people. Hey, I'm looking. I forgot what the question was. Of course, there's these things, you're never going to get your deposit back. That seems a very prevalent one. It depends on the circumstances, but I was looking for a place in this area, and yeah, sure enough, real estate agents that are in Tokyo can show you places out in Kawasaki, or Kawasaki real estate agents could help you find somebody it seems it is a kind of network of housing that is listed together. It's just the agents can
Mhm.
plug into them. Some agents just do specialize in certain areas, but it'll be good for people to know that, you don't have to go to 5 agencies. You just have to go to so and so. And if you go to 10, you can find a few of them that are English speaking and, direct all the traffic back there. Just a kind of slow discussion of, and just looking at people's questions and just, even reading through them. Hey, so and so posted about this, and looks like, and it seems certain topics will get good responses, and that's the kind of thing I want to capitalize on. And if someone has a question like, how do I get my landlord to fix something? These are also important questions once you get a place to, just keep in mind, or, helping people equip themselves with these are 5 questions you need to ask anytime you look at a place. And some of these real estate agents are really great. They actually help you with this kind of thing. They tell you you should ask these questions, and those are the real estate agents I want to meet. And then, kind of redirect them back to 10 and say, hey, there's a few people who've already posted questions like this. Go to 10 and check it out. We're just here discussing it. And, and yeah, it'd be kind of nice like that. Amanda was joining us today, and she was talking from the 10 network here in Tokyo. My name is Ron here in Tokyo, and we're here to answer your questions and discuss your questions. And we had a great guest today, and hopefully she'll come back again. And thank you, Amanda, today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
No problem. Okay.